All right, it's week 17 of the NFL season. So last week we have one of these shows. Next week we will be dissecting the playoff games. And somebody emailed me, it might have been CHCH, that told me, Andy, is there any way, since there's only games on Sunday, we can just input our picks in before the first games on Sunday? And the answer is yes, obviously, to that. So Sunday before 1 o'clock, get your shit in, otherwise you're automatically disqualified. Let's start with news. Saints, Drew Brees thriving early. Oh no, we're not going to even go into that. Relevant. Defensive tackle Raji leaves with concussion and Packers loss. Packers nose tackle B.J. Raji suffered a concussion on the final play of the first quarter and did not return to the 38-8 loss to the Arizona Cardinals.
I saw this. I was watching this game. He took I think it was a knee to the head, which knocked him out.
Better than a bullet to the head, like that movie.
Or 2 bullets to the head.
like Stedman Bailey.
Stedman Bailey. Yeah, it's tough. It's a big loss. He the last year and a half, he's been injured. He's been off the field, and he's been playing pretty well. He's back to the way he was playing his first couple of years. You know, when he was a high draft pick out of Boston College. Good kid, good player, good nose tackle. He probably won't play this week, and depending on what happens on Sunday, you know, I think that's probably the most meaningful game of the weekend is Minnesota Green Bay, to see who wins that North title and who is at the 3 seed and who has the 5 seed. So they're gonna miss him for sure. Green Bay looked terrible. They looked overmatched. Their offensive line was absolute dog shit. Aaron Rodgers, I think at the time was crying. He looked like he was crying because he was on his back so much. He didn't have any time to do anything. He's been playing, subpar lately. Their offensive line has been playing subpar. They can't get into a groove, and the second half of the year they really played poor. Even when they've won, they've played poor. They stuck out that one against Detroit when they threw the 65-yard Hail Mary, which was fortunate for them. So they really haven't played a 4-quarter game. I mean, they get beat at home by Chicago, and Chicago's terrible. They just can't put any. They haven't been consistent since they started off 6-7-0. So not having Raji is going to be big. But anytime you have Aaron Rodgers, he can pop off whenever. So as long as they have Rodgers and they're in the playoffs and they have a chance, they're still going to be a tough team to beat.
All right, Saints set record for most touchdown passes allowed. The Saints defense set the NFL record for most touchdown passes allowed in the season Sunday when it gave up number 41 on the opening drive of the second half.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, that's an average of like 2.3 per game, which is off the charts. And then like we talked about this before, Rob Ryan was fired, 3, 4, 5 weeks back. And, obviously there has to be a fall guy, but still, even with him getting fired, no one really, they didn't really change much of the personnel because at that point in time, there's really nobody out there that you can get. They need a whole, facelift on that defensive side of the ball. That whole team, I'm still wondering whether Sean Payton's going to come back because the offense is getting old. Drew Brees is getting old. The defense is just terrible. I think they need a whole new defense, and that's going to start through the draft and free agency. So it's still going to take some time. I think they still have a couple years with Brees, 2-3 years where they can put up a lot of points. But anytime you're giving up 40 plus touchdowns a year, your defense is terrible, and it's not getting any better soon. So as long as New Orleans has that poor defense, they're going to be on the sidelines and having early tea times for the next couple of years.
Speaking of Drew Brees' inspired performance keeps Saints from limping to finish line. Drew Brees, who was playing with a torn plantar fascia, threw for 412 yards and 3 touchdowns to lift the Saints in their home finale.
Unbelievable. I give all the credit in the world to Brees because I know what type of. I couldn't walk for many, many weeks with this plantar fasciitis, and to give him to throw 412 yards and 3 touchdowns is remarkable, and it's kind of something that will pass because they're not really playing for anything, so no one can really appreciate the the greatness of what Drew Brees did last week. Anytime you play with a torn plantar fasciitis and put up over 400 yards is remarkable. So you give as much credit as you can to Drew Brees, but since they're really out of playoff contention, it kind of goes by the wayside. But hats off to him. I know how much that hurts, and and to play with nothing, they got absolutely nothing to play for, and to come out and play like that, great for him. Drew Brees is Drew Brees. He's always going to be a good quarterback. He's been fighting the odds since he was in college at Purdue. Too short, and he really builds off that. People knocking him, telling him he's not any good, and when someone says you have torn plantar fasciitis, everyone's expecting you just to give up. He comes out and has an unbelievable game. So credit to Drew Brees.
The Colts' chances of making the playoffs are about 3,300 to 1.
You won't get any sympathy from this side of the table. They had it coming to them. Karma's a bitch. They were crying and whining and bitching and moaning about the Patriots and deflated balls, but they still were beaten, I think, like 42-10. They tried to build their whole team around beating the Patriots, and they signed some key offensive guys, but those guys are old. Luck was hurt the entire year. Hasselbeck showed his age at 42, 43. He can't play 16 games. I mean, he played, I think, 8 games, maybe 7 games, and he was 4-3. So, you got the best that you possibly could have, Hasselbeck. They're just a bad football team all around. Their defense is terrible. Their offense is definitely going in reverse. I think the GM's going to get fired. I think the head coach is going to get fired. I think there's going to be a whole new facelift in Indy, and maybe that's a place that McDaniels might end up as well. So with a quarterback like Luck, but Indianapolis, the Chuck Pagano and whatever his name is, the GM, Ryan Grigson days are over. So no complaints here. They got what they deserved, and if they just kept their mouth shut, maybe they would have had a better season. But God works in mysterious ways, and if you're going to go out and bitching and crying and telling on people, then he'll come back to bite you.
Lifeless loss may force Giants into tough decision on Tom Coughlin. The past couple of weeks have been tough ones for those making the case to keep Tom Coughlin as a Giants head coach.
Well, the last 4 years has just been they've been terrible, and every single year, I think we've talked about this in the past, is give him another year. I think the way Coughlin's a lot like me in the mental factor is that you're going to have to tell me to leave before I quit. So the way that works with him is they may just have to fire him. And even though he's a god, and he's not been such a stellar head coach in the regular season, but he's put together 2 awesome postseason runs that ended up in a Super Bowl with miraculous catches and everything like that. Whether it's lucky or not, they still won, and he's still a god. He's made the branch from Parcells winning Super Bowls, and he's a Parcells guy. Now it comes a point in time when it's just like, Tom, it's time, and but he's not thinking like that. He's thinking like he's going to be the head coach next year, and you're going to have to physically take him out of the building. And I don't know what he's going to do. He'll probably maybe join the Patriots because he's good buddies with. That'd be great as maybe an offensive senior assistant or something like that, or defense senior assistant. So I think the offense has been playing well. I think Ben McAdoo has done a good job with Eli Manning. His completion percentage is up. His interception rate is down. His touchdowns are up. His completion percentage is up. Everything is up the last 3 years with Eli, and I think their whole defense was dog shit from the beginning, and not having Pierre Paul all year, and then him coming back, and him not playing as much, as he never had a training camp. He never got a new groove. He still played very well, but I think there needs to be some mass changes. I think the Mara family wants to win more than anything, but I do think that the thing about the Mara family is that they have a heart and they understand what Tom Coughlin has done for them. So I don't think they have a problem firing Tom Coughlin. I think they have a problem sitting him down and letting him know he's been fired. And but when it comes down to wins and losses, that's something you might have to do. But as far as I'm concerned, Tom Coughlin should never get fired from New York for all he's done. And maybe they'll talk it out and just let him know, like, look, we don't want to fire you, but we'll just make it look like you're leaving for retirement or something like that. So either way, they need a whole new defense, whole new drafting. So we'll see what happens.
Tom Brady expresses empathy, support for Peyton Manning. Patriots quarterback Tom Brady says he supports and admires Denver counterpart Peyton Manning in the wake of a controversial Al Jazeera report. And that report, for those of you who have lived under a rock, is that in 2011, after coming off of multiple neck surgeries with the Colts, he had HGH shipped to his house in his wife's name, and he was using it to get back on the field. Among other people in this report, a couple other football players. Clay Matthews. You look at Clay Matthews, you're not surprised. But
No.
the deal is, there were some baseball players. Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
There was that catcher, Taylor Teagarden.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people.
Well, it's finger pointing. It's a news article. We're talking about it. They did a whole ESPN thing about it. Payne came out as quickly as he could to talk about it. First of all, on the Brady, that's Brady being Brady. A fellow, and fuck all the competition. Bottom line, Brady versus Manning, they never play each other. It's never them versus one. They never played one-on-one ever. Their teams have, but they've had nothing to do with each one, specifically winning or losing. But that's just Brady being a good guy. I know he gives Peyton a hard time in the media, and, Peyton seems like a good guy, and, he has funny commercials. Is he a good quarterback? Yeah, regular season 4 MVPs, but I still consider him a loser. He never quarterbacked my team ever. But I would think Peyton Manning would be the last guy that would do this, and maybe that's why he thought he could get away with it, as no one would believe that Peyton Manning could take HGH. If I had to bet my life or a gun in my head, I'd say he never did it, but if there's, if they're writing an article about it, whether they're just throwing his name in there to get press, or if he actually did do this, then all, his life will be, he might as well just kill himself, because all his records that he lives for will be tainted. All the passing yards and all that, will be under. It's just like A-Rod with the homers, all those, he hit 700 homers, but no one gives a shit because he cheated. So if it comes out that, that Peyton Manning cheated, it'll be a black eye for the Manning family. It'll be a black eye for the NFL. And, especially coming at the end of his career, that's all that people are going to remember. If this had happened maybe earlier in his career, he could overcome it. But if this is found out to be true, then, and Payne may have so much respect for the game. And we talked about this last week that I wouldn't, if I had to say yes or no, I would say no. I mean, yes, coming off the neck surgeries and having everything, he came back, but he didn't come back like, he won the MVP and everything like that, but you could still see him steadily declining as a quarterback, and, maybe he stopped taking the HGA. Who knows? All it is speculation, and until they actually have proof, I'm going to err on the side of him not doing it.
Finn's cornerback's wife, Rips Tannehill, says, knew this quarterback stunk. Miko Grimes, the wife of Miami Dolphin Brent Grimes, has once again taken to Twitter to vent her frustrations. Her target this time, Dolphins quarterback Ryan Tannehill.
She's right. Tannehill is garbage. I think we spoke about this, early on with the AFC East is, everyone got better. I think from top to bottom, everybody got better. The Jets got significantly better because they had a decent quarterback in Fitzpatrick. The Bills, we talked about, is never going to win with Tyrod Taylor, EJ Manuel. And we talked about Miami's never going to win with Tannehill. Bottom line is once again, I mean, the way you win football games, if you just want a simple answer, it's you have to have a great quarterback. Every team that's in the playoffs right now has a great quarterback, whether it's Cam Newton, whether it's Carson Palmer, whether it's Kirk Cousins, who's playing out of his mind right now, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, these guys are all good quarterbacks. And then you look at Brady, you look at Alex Smith, who I love. Denver's Ben Roethlisberger. Russell Wilson. All these guys are top-notch quarterbacks. And coming into the season, there's a group of 10, and at the end of every season, it's the same group of 10 that get their team to the Super Bowl. So we can talk, schemes and defenses and turnovers and everything. Bottom line is, if the Bills ever had a quarterback, they'd be better. Miami, Ryan Tannehill is not the answer to this broad. Whoever, she's right by saying this because he's terrible, and the Dolphins will always be terrible, just like all these other teams will always be terrible. Cleveland and the likes of, that don't have a quarterback. You'll never win without a quarterback, bottom line.
Panthers Rivera let down by end of 16-0 chase. Ron Rivera said the toughest part about Sunday's loss, the Panthers' first in 2015, was facing the more than 100 fans waiting to greet the team when it returned to Bank of America Stadium.
Oh, that's such a load of shit. By saying that, he's appreciating the fans and all they've done, and I think the best thing that possibly could have happened to them was a loss before they get into the playoffs. You never want your first loss to be in the playoffs, never mind what happened with the Patriots with the Super Bowl, and all that goes for naught. Everyone talks about, they went undefeated during the season, but they lost in the Super Bowl. And, you have to take the good with the bad. And I think Carolina is definitely, a top one. I still think Arizona, and I said Arizona, I was telling one of the guys I work with, Don P. earlier, that I had Arizona, a while ago when he was just asking me. And they're playing top notch right, on both sides. Their defense is stellar. I mean, whether Calais Campbell coming in, who's 6'8" and just gets wherever he wants to, and Patrick Peterson on the back end, who's covering everybody and their mother. But Carolina's still going to have home field throughout. They still have Cam Newton. They still have all the Pro Bowlers and Greg Olson and. A good defense with Thomas Davis and Kuechly and the defensive line. So I'm hoping it's a Carolina versus Arizona NFC Championship, and I think they're clearly the two best teams in the NFC. And you always want it to be the two best teams in both conferences going at it, and then having the winner playing the Super Bowl. But we'll see. They still have to win games to get there. They still have to face a tough Seattle team. Green Bay is going to play with nothing to lose. Minnesota's going to play with nothing to lose. Washington, no one's expecting anything from them. So they both have to get there. If they do get there, it'll be a great matchup.
Browns release Saunders, make Bryant inactive. Browns practice squad safety DeAndre Saunders has been released, and linebacker Amon T. Bryant will not be active for Cleveland's season finale following their arrest on Friday.
Yeah, these are the clowns that got arrested. That's Cleveland. That's Cleveland being Cleveland. And, when you suck that badly, I don't care who you are, you're going to give up. And whether that's giving up and not caring about the law or not caring about getting in trouble with the law, or even a practice squad guy getting arrested because he obviously doesn't care. No one cares on that team, and it starts with ownership. And the more you lose and lose and lose, as much of a competitor as these guys may be, it wears you down. Losing wears you down. And I did it. I lost 8 straight years with the 49ers, and losing, it sucks. It wears you down. And when you got nothing to play for, you go out and make stupid decisions. You go out and, have another one after midnight, or do another drug deal, or shoot somebody, But, it sucks. But these guys still have a job to do. They still have to show up for work. And, when they're putting themselves in front of even their own jobs and their families, that's over the top. But these guys they're stupid. They're kids. They don't understand the law. They don't understand. They grew up in the ghetto, and they just don't understand anything. They have a bunch of money, and they think they're invisible until they get caught. And the guy being on the practice squad means he sucks anyway, so he won't be there much longer. But I'm not surprised. I think both of them should be ashamed of themselves, it's just too bad that Cleveland has another black eye to its record.
Reports: the Browns seek help from ex-Packers GM. Ron Wolf will help the Browns evaluate the 2015 season, according to reports, and GM Ray Farmer and coach Mike Pettin could be on the hot seat as the team enters its final game at 3-12.
Well, that's the first. I mean, they did this a little while ago with Holmgren, and I thought it was a good deal. I actually knew one of the guys that worked for him, and he was excited. Everyone was excited, and Holmgren, even Holmgren could come in there. Now, Ron Wolf is a Hall of Fame GM, and he mentored one of my good friends, Scott McLovein, who's a GM of he was a GM of San Francisco 49ers, and now he's a GM of Washington Redskins. Ron Wolf is top notch. So if there's anybody that can come in and look at what's going on in Cleveland and possibly change it, not get into the playoffs year one, but it's Ron Wolf. I don't know if he'll be there in full capacity, but if he is, and Farmer's gone, Pettin's gone, the whole offense is everybody's gone except for the players because you need a roster. Yeah, I think that'd be the best decision Cleveland's made. In maybe 30, 25 years. But it's one thing to have the guy come in, but it's another thing to have him redo the whole organization. Ron Wolf is not a spring chicken. He started the whole Green Bay thing. Ron Wolf, and then underneath him was Ted Thompson, and Ted Thompson's still the GM. So Ron Wolf acquired Brett Favre from Atlanta in a trade. Ron Wolf had Mike Holmgren on his coaching staff, John Gruden on his coaching staff, all these guys on his coaching staff, and he drafted well. And they won games, they won Super Bowls, and then it continued with Ted Thompson drafting Aaron Rodgers, and they've continued to do well. So if Ron Wolf wants to take on that, and I hope he doesn't shorten his life, because I think anyone that would take on that Cleveland situation, God bless him.
Texans coach, this is interesting. Hoyer starts a quarterback if cleared. Coach Bill O'Brien said even if the Texans clinch the AFC South before Sunday's game against the Jaguars, quarterback Brian Hoyer will start if cleared. Now, this is interesting considering the fact that Brandon Whedon in 2 games has ignited the Texans' offense to the point where they're putting up points like it's going out of style, whereas Hoyer has not done that at all this year. So, explain.
I guess you gotta play the hot hand.
Well, the hot hand's Whedon.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think you got to play the hot hand. Hoyer is Hoyer. He's not going to do out-of-this-world things. Now, Whedon has shown, he's been successful. I guess what's his 4th team this year? He's probably taking snaps for a 3rd team. Obviously, he was garbage in Dallas, and he was so bad that they chose Hasselbeck. They chose fucking Castle over him, who's terrible. Now they got this, this left-handed kid, who just runs around, and I guess he's a little enjoyable to watch. But give credit to Whedon. One of those things, and when people count you out and you come up and you do well, and when you're expected to do dog shit and you do well or extremely well, their eyes are opening like, whoa, where'd this come from? Because this guy has always been dog shit. But Hoyer's Hoyer. Look, no matter who they play, that doesn't matter. They got 2 weeks left in their season. They're going to play this week. They'll win the division, and then they're going to get slaughtered by whoever comes in there and plays them in the first round because they're a bad team. Their defense can only do so much. Their offense, is in shambles, and they can never get it right starting from week 1. When we talked about the quarterback issue back then, they're still having a quarterback issue. They get this guy off the street who can barely play football, and now he's lights out like he's Dan Fouts, or fucking Dan Marino throwing the ball over the lot. But he's still Brandon Whedon, so I don't know.
Chargers fine, send all-pro safety Weddle to IR. This is an interesting story. And what might be the end of an acrimonious relationship between the Chargers and Eric Weddle, the team fined the all-pro safety $10,000 and put him on injured reserve for the Week 17 game. Now, do you know what happened?
I do not know.
So here's the deal. His daughter was performing a cheerleader thing at the stadium. He chose not to go in for halftime, okay? With the team, he chose to watch his daughter at the stadium.
Okay.
And then they fined him $10,000 and said, go fuck yourself.
That's terrible. You know what? When San Diego's been out of the playoffs since, week 5, maybe, week 4. If the guy wants to watch his kid, and his daughter, if he's out there watching some other guy's daughter, then there's problems. But if he wants to watch his daughter during halftime, so be it. It's week 16. If he doesn't know the defense by now, what are they just going to go in there and tell them how bad they are? And even maybe it will be maybe more guys should stay out and watch the little cheerleaders than that's terrible. That's really that's just let the guy watch his kid. I mean, they're 5 and whatever, 4 and whatever. They're not going to win a game. It's ridiculous. And fine him $10,000 and then he's got to miss a full paycheck. You wonder why San Diego's always in the trash every year because they treat their players like this. Good for him for doing that. Weddle, he's a tough player. I'll take him on my team any day. I remember when he came out of Utah, he was, late, 28, 29 draft pick. Great player. His days may be over in San Diego now. Great. I wish New England would go out and get him because he'd be, perfect player for Bill Belichick and the Patriots. But shame on San Diego for doing that. I bet you, he made his daughter's world or her year that she could be out in an NFL field, and her dad, who's playing for one of the teams, can watch her do her cheerleading thing for 10 minutes. So.
That's the drill. Colts place quarterback Whitehurst on season-ending IR. The Colts place Charlie Whitehurst on injured reserve Monday because of an injured hamstring, which extends the team's health woes.
Yeah, he was a flash in the pan. He's terrible. I remember when he was coming out of Clemson, and he bounced around from every team to every team. I think he was started with somebody, and then he was with Seattle, and then he was with another team, and then he ended up in Indianapolis, and by virtue of everybody, and their mother getting hurt or being old or, they threw him in there and he's terrible. He's just absolutely terrible. So I'm sure they couldn't wait to put him on IR because he's bad. But I guess it's a story. When I took a piss before I came over here, it's the same equivalency. Does everyone want to know about it? No. Does anyone care? No. Same thing with Charlie Whitehurst. No one gives a shit.
Well, here's what people do give a shit about. Browns coach to meet with Manziel on new video. Okay. A video which appeared on Busted Coverage shows Johnny Manziel singing along to March Madness by Future in a private residence.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, apparently he wasn't supposed to be doing that shit.
Singing?
He's singing in a private residence to a March Madness song by the band Future. And there's a video of him on the internet doing it.
Okay. Is it doing something wrong?
I don't know.
Was he drunk?
I don't know. It didn't say.
Trying to find something to say about this. I guess he did something wrong. I mean, is he doing like a New Kids on the Block thing, or
no idea.
Just lip syncing, or I don't know. If that's what they're getting mad at him for now, then look, I guess he owes him a lot if he gets for doing the March Madness by who? Future.
Yeah.
I don't know who that guy is.
Rex Ryan says, I let my mouth get ahead of me. Rex Ryan made several bold statements upon becoming the Bills coach.
No shit.
Including saying Buffalo would make the playoffs. Instead, the Bills will miss the playoffs for the 16th straight season. 16 seasons in a row, the Bills have not made the playoffs.
They're terrible. And, Rex Ryan is who he is, and he's got a loud mouth, and we've been talking about this every week. And, he's insane, and he just can't get over himself. And, he just talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks. And he puts his foot in his mouth more than once every year. We're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. When your team just sucks and everyone looks at a 16-game season, it's like there's no way you're going to make the playoffs. Their defense was a tad better, but Doug Marrone, did a better job than you did, fortunately. But Doug Marrone even said, "Fuck this sucks," and so
he did say "fuck this."
Yeah, he did. Rex is Rex. Rex will always be Rex, and as long as there's a microphone in front of him, he's never ever going to stop talking. So yeah, he can come out at the end of the season and try to patch things up with the ownership and say I got to talk less, but and until come fucking what do you call it, training camp, he'll have something to say, and he'll have all the people looking at him because it's all about Rex. It's not so much about the Bills because the Bills are the Bills, and they're still holding on to Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly and Andre Reed and Scott Norwood and all that shit. The Bills franchise is so bad that they're still clinging on to 3 straight Super Bowl losses, and that was the best time of their entire lives, other than having O.J. Simpson win the MVP for them. So the Bills, the Bills are the Bills, and I don't think Rex Ryan's the answer unless they can somehow get a quarterback. They will be who they are, and I don't think they'll. As long as they have the same team and the same head coach, they're not going to break that 16-year streak of no playoffs.
Coughlin doesn't want job status to be a distraction. Giants coach Tom Coughlin said he will try as hard as possible to prevent speculation about his job status from becoming a distraction to his players.
Well, it's New York. I mean, what did you expect? Anytime in New York, they almost get more hyped up over guys getting fired because it's New York with all the news, and Coughlin's been very good, throughout his tenure with the Giants about dealing with the media. Obviously, it's going to be, they have nothing, they have no playoff hopes. So what else are they going to talk about? Beckham, suspension for another 2 weeks, and or Eli, or Eli's so boring. You can only write so much about Eli. He's just there. But I think there'll be some shakeup. I think whether he leaves or gets fired, when there's nothing left to play for in Week 17, and you got a head coach who's been done a lot for the team, but he hasn't done anything in the past 4 years. It's what have you done for me lately? So unfortunately, it is a distraction. But hey, it's New York. What do you expect?
Well, here's what you expect. Quarterback McCarron set for MRI after injury on last play. A.J. McCarron told reporters after Monday night's overtime loss that he hurt his left wrist on the final play of the game. He is scheduled to have an MRI on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, he was decent for what he had to do. I mean, he's filling in for a Pro Bowl quarterback in Dalton. We'll see what happens. I think they'll probably just find out some another schlub on the street to throw him in there for the last week because they still need to win. But no, I think they already have the 2 seed. Well, I mean,
no, they don't.
They don't.
Denver beat them. They're tied with Cincinnati now.
So they need to find somebody. I mean, obviously Dalton's not going to be ready for the playoffs, so maybe they can go out and get Boomer Esiason. How about that?
Brees confident he and Peyton will stay with Saints. Drew Brees told NFL Network on Tuesday that he doesn't think there's any scenario in which he and Saints coach Sean Payton won't be back in New Orleans next season.
Well, it's nice to say, but believe it or not, Drew, there is a scenario where, and that's the fact that they may not want to re-up Payton. They may want to go in a different direction. Should they? No, because New Orleans is New Orleans right now because of Drew Brees, and if Drew Brees were to leave, then New Orleans would be back to the days when they had Archie Manning there. No one gave a shit. I think if what's his name, Payne has an opportunity to leave there and go to maybe like a Miami or something like that, then I do it in a second. I think Brees will end his career in New Orleans before he starts going out and embarrassing himself. So I know Drew said there's no way. What did he say? There's no
way he doesn't believe he and Sean Payton.
Correct. Well, there is a way. So.
Well, here's a way. Jerry Jones says no major changes in store for Cowboys. Owner and general manager Jerry Jones believes the Cowboys are closer than their 4-11 record indicates and doesn't plan on making any changes, quote, for change's sake.
He's a knee-jerk guy. If, he wakes up one day and doesn't feel the right, then he'll... I've never seen a head coach get so many passes with Jason Garrett, whether it's injuries or they never had a chance or we still believe in them. I mean, there's better head coaches out there than Jason Garrett. I can tell you that for a fact. This year was a wash because they lost their top receiver and top quarterback at the beginning of the year, and they just didn't have enough parts, and The thing is the guy who should be fired is Jerry Jones. But since he owns a team, that's not possible. He's a GM, and it's easy for a GM to have Tony Romo and Des Bryant, all these guys, but a real GM has people to come in and play when they're injured, and
like Belichick,
and like all these other GMs, who are successful. And when the cupboard is bare, what do you expect? You get 4-11, you get 3-13. It's just dog shit. They never had a quarterback to back up Romo, and Romo, it's not like he has played like 284 games in a row like Eli Manning. No, this guy's always injured, and they never had a guy that they could trust, and all they had were names. And Castle showed what he was good for. Whedon showed what he was good for. Nothing. And even when those guys are still playing terrible, there's still other guys out there you can go out and get. Make a trade. Fuck it. If you want to make the playoffs, and you're the Dallas Cowboys, they just sat there and didn't do anything for 6 weeks in a row, and they continue to lose with the same quarterback. So I think that Jerry Jones is showing his age. I think I don't know what he's more concerned about the money he makes than the team that he has. There needs to be a lot of changes, but you can't fire the GM when he owns a team.
Well, update on McCarron. He has a wrist sprain, MRI reportedly shows. The Bengals are preparing for A.J. McCarron to start this weekend versus the Ravens after an MRI revealed no fractures in the quarterback's wrist.
Is he going to play?
That's what it says. Here's what somebody also says. Rivera wishes Panthers game wasn't rescheduled. Panthers coach Ron Rivera wishes his team's Week 17 game wasn't pushed back to a later kickoff.
Too bad.
That's what it says.
Too fucking bad.
Al Jazeera defends report on Broncos Manning. An investigative reporter for Al Jazeera defended the network's report on athletes and performance-enhancing drugs that named Broncos quarterback Peyton Manning.
I always thought Al Jazeera was tied to
That's what I thought. I think it is.
Terrorist or something.
Well, it's a terrorist name sort of a deal. Jaguars will retain Coach Bradley for 16th season. Gus Bradley will return as Jaguars head coach, the team announced Tuesday.
Yeah, Gus Bradley's a top-notch coach. And he right now, Jacksonville is like the best 5-10 team of all time. They really have made strides, and everyone's like, Jacksonville, yeah, but they're still 5-10. But give him credit, that team never gave up, and Blake Bortles was throwing, just insane amount of touchdowns. Blake Bortles is going to be a star, and Bradley, you got to, it's like one of those things is he's doing his best to keep that team afloat. You can't fire him for being there and doing the best he can with, a load of shit, and he's gotten. That team is probably talent-wise is a 2-14 team. Look at it like that, and he's going to get them to 5-11, maybe 6-10.
Quarterback needy Colts signed Freeman, Lindley for finale. The quarterback desperate Colts signed both Josh Freeman and Ryan Lindley on Tuesday, with both potential candidates to start against the Titans.
Oh, that's Josh Freeman. I mean, you want to talk just a bad football player.
He was with the Buccaneers, right?
Yeah, and then he was with last team he was with was Minnesota.
Yeah,
who also had a guy named Matt Castle on that team. So I guess they're like magnets. I guess they're everywhere they go. Whether it's Charlie Whitehurst or Brandon Whedon or Josh Freeman. I mean, there's no way in hell he's in shape. I can tell you that. This guy's got nothing to play for. He's got nothing to stay in shape for. He's a first round pick. He's just absolute garbage. He makes Matt Castle look like Tom Brady if they compared the two of them.
3 and out. Eagles fire Kelly in third season.
Thank God.
Coach Chip Kelly has been fired by the Philadelphia Eagles after nearly 3 seasons with the team and with his mushy face.
I think I've never said one good thing about Chip Kelly. I don't think he's done anything. I know he made the playoffs 2 years in a row, but still. With all the power he was given, with all the money he was given, he still failed. That team wasn't playing for him. Never in this entire year, the team, you can see in coach, players' faces and coaches' faces, like Pittsburgh with Tomlin and New England with Belichick. A lot of these, or Rivera or Arians that the players are playing for their head coach, believe it or not. That's what their drive is to play for the guy who's leading them, and all that comes along with that. No one cared about Chip Kelly. No one took him seriously. He comes in with this high run offense. College coach. It's always difficult for a college coach to come in the NFL and expect the guys to listen to him. Same with the NBA and college basketball. It's always difficult. But
unless you're Brad Stevens.
Yes, yes. There's always exceptions to the rule.
And
My prediction is that he'll go. I think he's going to get another head coaching job at Tennessee, and he can relink with his boy Mariota.
Well, here's the deal. The report says that wary Finns brought extra eyes to New England. The Dolphins, according to a report, brought extra equipment staffers on the road to help keep an eye on the team's equipment before a game against the Patriots at Gillette Stadium.
Good. I mean, they wasted a bunch of money. That's about it. I mean, what could possibly happen? I mean, do you think they have to cheat to beat the fucking Dolphins? I mean, you can take St. Ray's High School in Rhode Island, who's a state champion, and they could go on there and compete with them. Yeah, that ain't serious. That's just a bunch of garbage.
Cowboys shut down Bryant to have surgery. Des Bryant will be placed on season-ending injury reserve and will undergo surgery.
Should have happened sooner. I knew when he came back it was too early because he was just going to complain about the quarterback throwing to him. So, not surprised.
Well, here's a surprise. Panthers Rivera says now, in hindsight, losing a good thing.
Yeah.
Panthers coach Ron Rivera admittedly slept better than he had in a month after his team's run into perfect season ended on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, he must have been drinking on the plane ride home. I mean, because to say that the only reason he's sorry is for those 100 fans that are waiting for him, I mean, that's a load of garbage. But, yeah, it's a blessing in disguise. To get that first loss off your back is a big relief for Carolina, It's now that they can go full forward. Now they know they've lost, so the undefeated season's over, so that takes a lot of pressure off them. I think that was the best thing that possibly could happen was a loss. So I'm glad to see Rivera, change his tune.
There's a Chip Kelly Twitter reaction. Ex-Eagle apparently not upset about firing. Emmanuel Ochoa appeared to chime in on Chip Kelly's firing. Many other current and former NFL players did too. Here's what Emmanuel Ochoa had to say. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
He's right. Chip Kelly was in way over his head. And coaches that try to take on too much with the GM, I mean, there's only one guy that can do it, and that's Belichick. Every other coach that's tried to take it on they relinquish one of the two, and usually it's the GM. So Chip Kelly was in over his head. He wasn't making right decisions. You have to be patient as much as you can. You have to be patient and have precision. You have to be patient long enough to know when a guy's done, and then when he is, try to get the most you can for him. Sam Bradford, no, and Nick Folk was just as bad. The whole situation with the way McCoy was treated, and then having three running backs and paying all this money, and the guy sits to the bench and with whatever his name is, Murray and Matthews, and it's just one of those things. It's like you box yourself in. You really put a ceiling on your team when you have bad players like that.
Jerry Jones says finding a quarterback a high priority. You must have heard this broadcast. The Cowboys have many needs for 2016, but finding a young quarterback who can back up Tony Romo will be a priority.
Hey, I mean, everybody is in that same, that's why you always see New England, pick up a guy, whether it's in free agency or draft him late, because always draft a quarterback because it can never hurt. This guy could be another Tony Romo. And trust me, you can never have too many good quarterbacks on your roster. So, I mean, do you think if the Patriots could get if a guy slips in the draft who's a stud, yeah, they'll draft him, even though they drafted Garoppolo. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can never have too many quarterbacks on your roster. If you have a quarterback that you think is going to improve your team, then you're going to take him. So I think just like all 32 teams, there's not one team in the NFL that could be like, okay, we're all set at quarterback, because anything can happen at any time, And if your backup's not ready, then you're in trouble.
Well, you want to hear a cool article about Martha?
Yeah.
How Martha Ford won over critics and Lions fans. Martha Ford may not look the part, but the Lions matriarch has silenced doubters and won over fans with her decisive moves since taking control of the team.
Oh yeah, she stepped up to the plate. Maybe she watched the show because we didn't know where she was. We thought she was in a nursing home, drinking milk and smacking the boys around. But you know what? I just can't believe a broad can come in. I mean, they really started, whether they were listening to her or not, or they just got hot at the right time. Because Caldwell's still out to lunch. He's probably still on the sidelines of that game where he blew it. It was against Dallas or something. I don't even remember. But yeah, Martha stepped up. She showed up to the game. She was on camera. I mean, she's out there swinging now. And but God, good for Martha.
Bills owner says Coach Ryan, GM Whaley to return. Bills coach Rex Ryan and general manager Doug Whaley get a vote of confidence from owner, will return to Buffalo next season.
Awesome.
All right.
Transactions?
Not yet. All right, Jeffrey Lurie says the record and Eagles' trajectory justified change. Calling the season, quote, one of the most disappointing in his 21 years as owner, Jeff Lurie said he evaluated the Eagles' record and, quote, trajectory and concluded he had to move away from Chip Kelly.
He's right. For as much of a bad job he did hiring him, he made it all right, even though he's got to pay him for the next 5 years a boatload of money. Chip Kelly was not the answer there, and it's tough to win in Philly, but, he just couldn't get it done. He had given up. The fans gave up. Laurie gave up, so now they got to start all new.
Well, Beckham says he has learned but won't change. Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. says he has learned from his suspension but won't change his game or his intensity.
Then he's going to be in trouble again. He's a piece of shit. He's an animal. He's if he wasn't one of the best receivers in the NFL, he'd probably be in jail, locked up, or selling drugs, or dead. So he's never going to change. That means that he's never going to play a full season because he's going to get suspended, and then maybe maybe a longer suspension, another off the field issue or on the field issue. So I don't feel bad for him.
Bucks coordinator says Jameis Winston, or Jameis Winston, however you fucking say his name, for Rookie of the Year is, quote, no-brainer. Dirk Cotter is firmly behind Jameis Winston for Rookie of the Year. His quarterback has taken every offensive snap this season, one of just 4 quarterbacks to do so.
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but yeah, I think Jameis Winston maybe is deserving of that.
John Clayton says,
Yep.
Why Bill O'Brien deserves more credit. Yes, the Texans got off to a rough start, but the way Coach Bill O'Brien got them back on track, playing 4 different quarterbacks no less, goes underappreciated.
Yeah, they never had a quarterback, so and it's not like he's tearing up that division. They're still like 500. I don't agree with that. I mean, everyone starts every single year with the same everything. You start 0-0 record. It's on you and your team to get build a better team. If they're in any other division, then they don't make the playoffs. No one's talking about them. So I don't agree with John Clayton.
There's a report out of Buffalo that the Bills plan to cut Mario Williams in offseason. The Bills plan to cut high-priced and underachieving defensive end Mario Williams this offseason, according to the Associated Press.
Well, hopefully the New England will pick him up. I hope they do cut him. Because he's a star player. He's a stud.
Belichick says Eagles Kelly firing really disappointing. Bill Belichick put his public support behind former Eagles coach Chip Kelly as well as the overall coaching profession early Thursday morning.
They're good friends, and that's just like when I have my good friends get fired. Obviously you're going to support the guy. So, Belichick is a true friend to a lot of those people. Doesn't have many true friends, but the guys that he likes, he'll always back. So, Belichick is one of those coaches that, when he was in Cleveland, he felt he got a raw deal. And from then on, he feels as though when coaches get fired, when they shouldn't get fired, they get a raw deal. He can appreciate that because he's been in that situation.
Eagles Lane Johnson says, Kelly brilliant, but like dictator. Eagles lineman Lane Johnson called Chip Kelly brilliant, but said power and control issues spelled his doom in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I think that guys tune that shit out. I mean, I've been around these guys, and when they hear the same thing, and they've been, they're treated like they're 10, 12 years old. They tune it out. They just, they know that they're not going to get cut. They can't cut all the players but they can fire the head coach. So, that's why leadership is so important. And to be a good leader, you have to, do leadership. You got to be a leader every single day. You can't act to be a leader and then undercut guys and talk down to them. And so I agree. I mean, it was his first job in the NFL. He thought he could do better than he would. He's arrogant. He thought he could come in and change the whole offensive game in the NFL. He found out he couldn't. He found out that he had almost too many weapons at one point. Never had a quarterback. So he learned his lesson.
Concussion and season for Browns quarterback Manziel. 17 minutes ago, this article came on. Browns quarterback Johnny Manziel will not play Sunday against the Steelers. Coach Mike Patton said Thursday.
Probably the best thing for him to rattle his brain a little bit, maybe shake things up. Yeah, one of those things with concussions, like we talked about. You can't be too, if it's even close, then they're gonna sit him. So, another 1 week early to start partying.
All right, here we go. Transaction time, your favorite time.
Yep.
Friday, December 25th on Christmas. The Giants placed defensive tackle Marcus Kuhn and linebacker James Morris on injured reserve. Signed defensive end Brad Bars and tight end Matt Lacossi from the practice squad.
No.
Saints waived running back Tobin Operum. Signed wide receiver Santavius Jones from the practice squad and offensive tackle Brian Witzman to the practice squad.
No.
Cowboys placed tight end Gavin Escobar and quarterback Tony Romo on injured reserve. Signed quarterback Jameel Showers and defensive tackle Casey Walker from the practice squad.
Other than Romo, no.
No, Gavin Escobar. All right, Saturday, December 26th, Buccaneers placed defensive tackle Akeem Spence on injured reserve, signed running back Mike James from the practice squad.
No.
Seahawks placed tight end Anthony McCoy on injured reserve, signed wide receiver Kason Williams from the practice squad.
No.
Patriots claimed defensive back Troy Hill off waivers from Cincinnati, signed wide receiver Chris Harper from the practice squad, released tight end Asante Cleveland and wide receiver Leonard Hankerson.
No.
Dolphins signed cornerback Tyler Patman from the practice squad, waived defensive end Jordan Williams.
No.
Sunday, there were no transactions. Monday, December 28th. You said no anyway. Chargers place strong safety Eric Weddle and Darryl Stuckey, tight end Ladarius Green, and nose tackle Sean Lismore on injured reserve. Signed tight end Sean McGrath and safety Matt Daniels from the practice squad. Re-signed guards Craig Watts and Michael Huey to the practice squad. Claimed tight end Asante Cleveland off waivers from New England.
No.
Steelers placed fullback Roosevelt Nix on injured reserve. Signed linebacker L.J. Fort from the practice squad.
No. Patriots
released running back Joey Iosefa.
No. I told you he was garbage.
Yeah.
He's terrible.
Colts placed guard Hugh Thornton and quarterback Charlie Whitehurst on injured reserve.
No.
Browns signed linebacker Cam Johnson from the practice squad, waived running back Darrell Richardson, released defensive back Deontay Saunders from the practice squad.
No.
Tuesday the 29th, Redskins signed cornerback Jeremy Harris from the practice squad, waived tight end Jerron Ham.
No.
Chargers released wide receiver Vincent Brown.
No.
Eagles fired Chip Kelly coach and Ed Mayonowitz vice president of player personnel.
Yeah, those are the two guys that were stemming up the whole thing, so now they're on the street.
Raiders signed defensive back Dewey McDonald from the practice squad, signed defensive back Chris Hackett and guard Cole Manhart to the practice squad.
No.
Giants placed linebacker Devin Kennard on injured reserve.
No.
Patriots re-signed linebacker Dakota Watson.
No.
Colts signed quarterbacks Josh Freeman and Ryan Lindley, signed linebacker Marlo Herrera, signed guard Kit O'Brien to the practice squad, placed linebacker Josh McNary on injured reserve.
Didn't we already talk about that a little while before?
The quarterbacks, yeah.
Quarterbacks.
Texans signed safety Corey Moore from the practice squad, placed cornerback Charles James on injured reserve.
No.
Lions released cornerback Bill Bentley.
No.
Browns signed defensive back Sean Baker to the practice squad.
No.
Bengals signed quarterback Mike Kafka to the practice squad.
No.
Panthers waived defensive end Wes Horton.
No.
Bills place wide receiver Marcus Easley, tight end Charles Clay, and cornerback Ron Brooks on injured reserve. Claim wide receiver Leonard Hankerson off waivers from New England.
Easley. Who's the Easley that New England has?
I don't know. That's Dominic Easley.
Okay. Then no.
Falcons place nose tackle Paul Solali on injured reserve. Signed tight end DJ T.L. Lavea from the practice squad.
No.
And yesterday, the 30th, Buccaneers placed wide receiver Vincent Jackson and safety Major Wright on injured reserve. Promoted safety Kimario McFadden and tight end Tevin Westbrook from the practice squad.
Well, Vincent Jackson, he's been bouncing around. It's too bad. He's a good receiver. He'll get picked up somewhere else.
Chargers signed safety Brandian Ross and cornerback Cassius Vaughn.
No.
Raiders signed cornerback Saquon Edwards from the practice squad. Placed safety Nate Allen on injured reserve.
No.
Patriots re-signed defensive lineman Ishmaeli Kitchen, released cornerback Troy Hill, and your favorite player re-signed running back Joey Iosefa to the practice squad.
No.
Colts signed tight end Eric Swoop from the practice squad, placed tight end Dwayne Allen on injured reserve.
No.
Broncos claimed guard Robert Myers off Baltimore's practice squad, waived safety Sean Prater.
No.
Browns signed running back Darrell Richardson to the practice squad.
No.
Bears signed defensive lineman Greg Scruggs and defensive lineman Terry Williams, placed defensive lineman Eddie Goldman and wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey on injured reserve.
Jeffrey, that's a big loss, but the season's over, so.
Bills signed cornerback Bud Noel and cornerback Sammy Seamister to the practice squad.
No.
Falcons signed linebacker Xavier Dixon to the practice squad.
No.
All right, you sexy fuck, it's time for the scores. The last week of the picks. Ooh!
We'll do something for the playoffs.
Yeah, but this is the last week for the scores, C. All right, so let's go over how the fuck everything went down last week. Here's the deal. For the Peon division, CV Gunn, he went 8-8. James LeBlanc 11-5, and yes to anything that is cool, awesome 9-7. So here are the standings. CV Gunn is still in first at 111-72. James LeBlanc with a 3 games in 1 week on CV Gunn, only a game back at 110-73, and yes to anything that is cool, awesome 4 games out at 107-76. And for our division, McLovein here went
11-5.
Yeah, you went 11-5.
You went 9-7.
I went 9-7, and yeah, but I wrote it down here. Where the fuck did I write it? This doesn't make any sense. And then Steve Goldman went 8-8. That's what happened. Did he go 8-8? Hold on. Now, what the hell?
You just wrote them all down.
I don't know what I did with it. All right, here's the deal.
Okay.
You went 111-72. You went 11-5. We know that. I lost 2 games on you, which means I went 9-7. Steve Goldman, I think.
Steve Goldman went 8-8.
Yeah, I think that's what I thought. Yeah, so he went 8-8. So he's all right. So here's the deal. So you're 122-77. I'm 115-84. I'm 7 games out. And Steve Goldman's in last at 106-93, 16 games out. Steve Goldman, nice playing. And pretty much me, I think you've won the division at this point.
Yeah, we'll see, though. You never know.
Well, you all would have to... Steve Goldman, if I was you...
Yes.
You have nothing to lose here at this point. If I was you, whatever McLovein picks, pick the opposite team.
Yeah, just in case. That's what you should do, too.
Yeah.
You should.
Nah.
Well, do you want to win the division or not?
I don't give a shit
Yes,
at this
you
point.
do. Shut the
All right, here we go. Ready?
Yes, you do.
All right, first game, you sexy fuck. Jets... 10-5 against the Bills at home, 7-8. The Jets are favored on the road by 3.
Jets.
Patriots 12-3 against the Dolphins at home, 5-10. Patriots on the road are favored by 11.5.
Patriots minus 11.5.
Saints 6-9 against the Falcons at home, 8-7. Atlanta's favored at home by 4.
Atlanta minus 4.
Ravens 5-10 against the Bengals at home, 11-4. Bengals are favored at home by 10.
Take the points.
What does that mean?
Take the points. Plus 10.
So Ravens plus 10.
Ravens plus 10.
Okay.
Sorry.
Steelers, I thought you'd been over under. Steelers 9-6 against the Browns at home, 3-12. Pittsburgh on the road is favored by 11.5.
Pittsburgh minus 11.5.
Jaguars 5-10 against the Texans at home, 8-7. Houston's at home favored by 7 at home.
Houston minus 7.
Titans 3-12 against the Colts, who are home at 7-8. No line.
Take the Titans.
Redskins 8-7 against the Cowboys at home, 4-11. Dallas at home is still favored by 4.
Oof. I mean, that because the Washington's have nothing to play for. Still take Washington +4.
Eagles 6-9 against the Giants at home, who are 6-9. Giants are favored by 3.5.
Giants.
Lions 6-9 against the Bears, who are home 6-9. It's even.
Lions.
Buccaneers 6-9 against the Panthers 14-1, who are at home. Carolina's favored by 11.5.
Carolina.
Raiders 7-8 against the Chiefs 10-5. Kansas City's at home favored by 7.5.
Kansas City.
Chargers 4-11 against the Broncos 11-4 at home. Denver's favored at home by 10.
Denver.
Seahawks 9-6 against the Cardinals at home 13-2. Cardinals are favored by 7 at home.
Seattle.
Speaking of which, by the way, you mentioned earlier, I forgot to correct you, and now I remembered. Carolina is not the number 1 seed. They have not clinched. Carolina's 14-1. The Cardinals are 13-2.
Yeah.
Carolina loses and the Cardinals win. The Cardinals
Yeah,
are the
but
number 1 seed.
I'm just saying if everything goes as planned.
Rams 7-8
Well,
against.
technically they are the number 1 seed right now.
Now, but you said
Yeah.
you said it goes through Carolina.
Well, as of now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rams 7-8 against the 49ers, 4-11. 49ers are at home. St. Louis on the road is favored by 3.
49ers, San Francisco.
You're just picking shit now. You're even paying attention.
I am.
49ers are favored by 20.
No, the 49ers are dogs by 4 points.
No, 3 points.
That's
See, you weren't listening.
take
Vi-
San Francisco.
All right, the Sunday night game, the last game of the regular season. Vikings 10-5 against the Packers at home, 10-5 for the division. Green Bay at home is favored by 3.
Green Bay -3.
And that's it. So we're going to our picks. All right, Jets, Bills. Who do you got?
Jets.
Jay. Where am I? Here I am. All right, NYJ. I resigned as head coach of the NYJ. Patriot. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Patriots, Dolphins.
Patriots.
Yeah. Saints, Falcons.
Falcons.
Taking New Orleans.
You got to
one
take
game.
everything that I go against.
I can't. I'm not going to get plummeted by 30 games. All right, Ravens, Bengals.
Bengals.
Yep. All right, Steelers, Browns.
Steelers.
Yep. Jaguars, Texans.
Houston. They need to win.
Titans, Colts.
Titans.
I was going to pick the Titans too. You.
I'll take the Colts.
No. You pick the Titans. Redskins, Cowboys.
Skins.
Since they have nothing to play for, I'm taking Dallas. Eagles, Giants. I mean, Washington's nothing to play for. Really, they both don't. Eagles, Giants. Who do you got?
Giants.
Yep. Lions, Bears.
Lions.
Taking the Bears. So that's 3 games we differ. Buccaneers, Panthers.
Panthers.
Okay. Raiders, Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Okay. Chargers, Broncos.
Broncos.
Yep. Seahawks, Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Rams, 49ers.
49ers.
Taking the Rams.
Oh boy, that should be a doozy. Green Bay.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take Minnesota.
Okay, so what do we differ?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So worst case, I'm down 12. Best case, I'm only down 2. Chances are I'll go 2 and 3, and I'll be down fucking 9.
Okay.
Or 8.
Well, that's how we thought it was going to be.
So here's the deal, everybody. Thanks for watching this season. Stay tuned for next week for the playoff
Happy New
edition.
Year.
Playoff edition. Happy New Year, says McLovein. And
We'll do something for the playoffs, whether it's picks or we'll do a bracket challenge. But we'll make it interesting.
well, we're definitely going to make it interesting because we're going to create our first segment of McLoveин's chalkboard talk.
Yeah.
All right,
We got
we
the
already
board
got
right
it. We
over
got
here.
the board over there. We're going to hang it up right
We're going to
behind
do
you.
some dog blitzes. We're going to do a little 3-4. I'm going to explain to you guys what the difference is of 3-4, a 4-3, and we're going to do some cover 2 blitzes. We're going to do some zero coverage, cover 1, cover 2, cover 3.
Don't forget to cover your Wii.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you next
All
week.
right, later.